Sweet mother of God, we're already here. I was just here a day ago. Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. We have such stellar, fantastical, amazing news in the form of Genshin's first character buff, which is huge. And a lot of people said it should be Amber, which I somewhat agree with, but I'm not absolutely over the moon about this buff. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't do it. Our friends over in Asia did it. But Zhongli, our boy, King Pillar himself, is getting a fucking buff. Or daddy, whatever you want to fucking call it. Fucking, yes, he's getting a buff, and it's absolutely ludicrous. Although there is so much I want to talk about because it's... First of all, it's morning and I'm just going a million miles per hour. But the idea of the strategic placement of this update is so brilliant and so... It's like, it's good in every sense. Well, sorry, not good in every sense. It's good in business-wise, makes sense, but also it's good for a player satisfaction kind of thing as well. But what should we do first? Should I give my take on what's going on? Sure. And then we'll get into the actual buff because I'm pretty sure you guys have already seen it because so many people are like on it when it comes to this game. Like a fucking, the Twitter will release a statement and then boom, 6 videos. And I'm like, shit, I gotta fucking, what do I do? I just woke up, man. What are you guys on? Fucking Adderall is what the answer is. But, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why this was such a weird thing is because a lot of people are confused because people that make Genshin Impact made a follow-up statement when the Western audience first got Zhongli. A lot of people would agree that it was the vocal minority, but still a pretty good amount of the community. 15% of a huge-ass player base is still a big amount. A lot of people were saying Zhongli doesn't scale as well as other 5 stars, like what's going on. Response was basically, yeah, because he's not you're doing the wrong thing with him. He's not necessarily supposed to be a DPS. And of course, it was a criticism of, oh, why show us him smashing stuff with his spear if he doesn't do that? If you're not even really supposed to melee that much at all. You're supposed to activate his ults and then switch off. Why not show him as a support character rather than the single gameplay trailer that we see him just popping off by himself? Why, if that is the case, it just seems confusing. Which I think largely they would agree with. That probably was a bad call. Lo and behold, that was their statement. Came forward and said, well, no, guys, it's not that he's bad. It's just that you're using him in the wrong way. So we're not going to buff him. But yeah. So, sorry, not going to happen. And some people of the community said, what the fuck? This bullshit. And other parts of the community said, good, they're like holding their ground. Because Zhongli is very, very strong in the support role. But again, I think there is a decent argument for why the fuck did you show him in the damage kind of role. Anyways, so that's happened. Everyone thought Zhongli was kind of just done. Like that was it. Signed, sealed, delivered. The designers talked about his balance changes because there was information on Reddit that was complaining about him. All these kind of things. Bunch of outrage. That's why I introed the like talking about Zhongli video like because everyone was pretty pissed about the whole situation, which rightfully somewhat so. But then our friends over in the Asian servers got him. And damn motherfucker, that's a big ass audience. 15% of that audience is fucking a mob that's gonna rip your throat out, okay? So, when they got Zhongli, they were pissed. They were like, this is not up to par. This is not okay. If you're gonna spend money in this banner, why is this character weak? And etc. etc. Goes on and on and on. Needless to say, this is what we got, a huge buff to not only Zhongli, but Geo characters as a whole. Now the thing is, the strategic implementation of this is like brilliant and also scummy. A little bit, not scummy, that's too much strong of a word, but it's very baited, I guess. So first of all, one of the things that's the most evident is nobody is that excited for Albedo, for whatever reason. Well, for many reasons. But I'm actually one of the only people I think that's pretty jazzed. I think I actually might spend my primo on him rather than Genyu just because I like the playstyle of like activate my abilities, switch off to another character, fuck shit up, boom, boom, boom. And with the updates to Geo, what we're gonna get into in a little bit, I think it could be good, but it's one of those things where we have to just wait dormantly until we can actually be unleashed, which is a, stupid sentence in general, but anyways. I only slurp it so that you can, like, get attacked. But yes, they could have just come forward with like, hey, Zhongli's getting patched, cool, or getting updated, cool. No, they decided to make it a geo passive buff that affects multiple geo users in your same party getting huge buffs. So that strategically just makes Albeto's thing even more lucrative now. If you do happen to have Zhongli, which people are already assuming that if you happen to have Zhongli, Albedo is going to really play with Zhongli and his playstyle and everything. And now, after seeing his buffs, it's just going to be even more so, which is awesome. Also, I didn't mention this, by the way, all the buffs are attached to HP percentage, and your boy got HP percentage. I built Zhongli just full tilt HP, but I don't know if some of my artifacts have diminishing returns. I heard someone say that they have 35,000 HP, and I'm like, what? I have every artifact that can have HP with HP, and I think I have the same amount. So, and I think that other person had physical damage on one of his. So I was like, uh-oh, does it only count once? If that's the case, then shit, I fucked up bad. So that's how Beto's like nice buff makes him more valuable. Maybe we'll see how he actually plays. But by the time this update goes live, you have 3 days to actually get Zhongli. And the reason why that's a little fucky is because this buff only comes into play 7 weeks from now in 1.3. And that's the beta test. And none of the things that we're about to talk about are cemented as going to happen. They need to be tested. So that could mean things get even more crazy or things get even less crazy. But we don't know yet. So this is it does kind of seem somewhat like a bait. Like, hey, we're gonna buff this guy who everyone's been saying is weak. Here are the changes. Here are some percentages to set your mind on fire and think he's gonna pop off in a big way. But guess what, bitch? We can knock some of those percentages down because nothing's set in stone yet. But hey, bet you're more incentivized to buy him now. There's 3 more days to spend money on the banner. Fucking go ham. So yeah, that's also somewhat evident. I don't know how I feel about that. Me as a person who already has them, we're just chilling. We're just nothing but profit for us. We're just like, nice. I was already kind of fine with him in general, but now I'm just like, all right. Hell yeah, he can be a DPS. All right, let's shut up and get into the actual meat and potatoes of what they're changing. So first of all, they just say sorry, basically, that he's not really activating or like being what everyone was hoping he would be, a 5-star of immense power and all that kind of stuff. Also, I don't know why they chose to do this, but yes, 1 is the new and 2 is the old. I think they didn't really want to change things because the cheap people who make these games are in China, and you read left or right to left, I think. So maybe they just said, fuck it, we'll just add 1 and 2 because whatever, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Regardless, so the first things first, we're gonna try to blow through these. Planet Befall with your 33% damage buff based on your HP is not going anywhere. It's stuck. It's staying there. Fucking bonkers. Again, all of the things we were talking about are subject to change. They may tweak things. We will see. But with every change, just a spoiler alert, all the changes seem to be making Zhongli a bruiser, which is to say you can have a lot of HP. And if you build him for HP, you're gonna be rewarded for that. But also, he can hit shit really hard because he scales off of his HP. Now we've yet to see if that is enough to warrant a full HP build, or if you're far better off going for like physical damage and maybe like 1 HP buff. We'll see. But anyways, regardless, your buff for your HP in terms of your ult is staying the same, not changing. They're adding on top of everything except for one thing, which we'll get to. And it's not really Zhongli, it's more Geo as a structure. The damage dealt by the base attack pattern of Zhongli is increased based on his HP. Normal attack, charge attack, and plunge attack will be increased by 1.39% of his max HP. Now, if you have a fuck ton of health, that's big. But again, we don't know if that percentage is going to stay the same. Veil of ignorance. Let's just say it is. That's a good amount. I've seen some people who do the fucking crazy maths break this down really quick, and it could be a substantial amount. I don't know, again, if you're able to go full HP and you'll get more out of the damage rather than going for like physical damage and then maybe adding a little HP on top of that with a fuck ton of substats. I don't know. But regardless, building HP seems to be really good. And this base thing, if you're already building him for like a super support role with a ton of HP and shield strength, it's just kind of this nice sugar on top. You might be able to actually hit some lower level enemies and knock them down to size. Now, if you actually want to build him for full HP, or sorry, full DPS build, he may be applicable in that sense, but more because he's not just going to be like a razor who hits like a truck, but instead he's going to be a person that hits really hard, but also has the density of a Geo God. So cool. He's basically just like he's mixed. He's not just a pure glass cannon. He can also tank a shit ton. This to me, everyone's just talking about this like it's nothing. This is mad good, okay? This is the shit that I like to see in buffs, man. It's just quality of life changes so nice. It's so fucking annoying. Sorry, to have to sit there and like pop your pillar and then be like, shield, and then you go in, then you run in with Razor or your dumbass DPS. So I find that just so annoying. And of course, if you have one constellation for him, you'll be able to summon two, which of course you'll just summon a pillar, maybe switch to a character, pop their E, switch back to him, pop your shield, and then do whatever you want to do. But for a person who just has one constellation, this is just nothing but nice. You essentially run up to an enemy, activate your shield, the Dominus Lapidus, the pillar is always active. By the way, Dominus Lapidus, the pillar, and the shield both get buffs, which to me is ludicrous, especially considering this thing resonates with Geo art, with Geo constructs. So the Traveler, the main character, when he's summoned through the Geo tree, is going to be more applicable, as well as any Geo character is just going to be way more better at this point. Again, as soon as you activate your shield, you will also activate a steel slate, which is fantastic. Again, making it so that you can have uptime on these pretty fast. So you'll like, again, when you 10 seconds, I believe, is when you can activate your shield again, and it's up for another 15. So if you just constantly keep a timer in your mind to 15 seconds, you can pop that again, and your steel lapis lasts, I think, longer than 15 seconds. So you'll be able to, even if you have one constellation, be able to keep the uptime of your stone slate on more. But anyways, here's the other thing. So your shield, I guess we'll get to the shield first and we'll wait for this stone slate. But shield, it used to be 250 geo damage absorption, and it can scale on his HP, but that's the money you're working with. But now it's 150. They may be like, oh, it's a debuff. No, it's not, because it's now physical damage. That is everything. So instead of you being really resistant to geo attacks, which is rare that you'll find an enemy that fucks you up with geo, now it's physical damage, which every enemy in the game deals. Not only that, but it's still scaling off of your HP and all that stuff. In fact, the shield should be more resistant now, because Geo only gets a resistance to Geo. It gets a weakness to other elements, of course. So, yeah, that's just money. That's just cash money. Also, the AoE from you casting that is better. Yeah, right here. The Stone Slate, resonate and hold mode of damage of Dominus Lapidus. So basically, when you hold down and you cast your shield, there's a wave of geo that like shatters through everything. That will get an increase to damage, as well as the pulsing of your thing, which is already kind of good. They don't mention anything about regen here, which is the only like thing that I was hoping. I'm hoping that's part of it. I'm hoping that's like quiet, but maybe it exists, because the one thing that people have a problem with Zhongli is that his alt recharge shit is really fucky. But if you maybe have, I don't know, a alchemist who is, you know, all about constantly putting out geo damage and sucking in orbs, maybe they can reminisce really well with remedy really well with each other's weaknesses. Anywho, even though I think fucking Albedo is going to be a tank, regardless. Yes, so again, the way this scales is same way that his alt scales, or sorry, his damage scales. So 0.9% of his HP is going to be converted to damage, which is crazy. So the pulse of that thing is going to be having a damage buff as well. That seems nutty. This throws a wrench into everyone's builds right now, because is it good to build Geo? Is it, well, clearly it's good to build HP, but maybe you want to create a build where you're just resonating a ton, which was already a pretty good build within the Spiral Abyss. If you happen to have the Traveler, or I don't know, Albedo, or I don't know, Nin Wang, who can just cast a shield that protects you in a big ass radius, as well as fucks you up in 1,000 other ways. Because when you run through that thing, you get a damage buff. You have Constellation, it just gets nutty. Also, one thing that's just, I don't know, it's just kind of fine. But basically, another thing that they added is that you have more resistance when casting. Weird. You just run your ass away when an enemy is swinging like that and just quickly cast. But sure, I mean, yeah, it's nice if you want to tank a little bit more, and that's good. So now you can get your shield off and not get juggled, which can definitely happen. I find it doesn't happen much with these guys because they're so slow when it comes to their attack patterns. But the fucking ice people, those little ice like bastards, Fatui, little wizard fucks. If you're fighting two of them at once, they just juggle your ass and you're just getting thrown around like a ragdoll, and it's the worst. And also, they deal so much damage, so you just can't have that. Anyways, and then this is the buff that I think is also like, well, hey, how do we incentivize them to want Zhongli more and to really bank on spend some primo in those last 3 days? Well, okay, we need to give them a buff, and it's not gonna happen too soon, but we're gonna make it so that it's far away. That way, people have an incentive to keep playing and to come back at the very least to our game when this update goes live, because they want to see what their husbando has got from it or whatever, right? But this is the update, I think, for Albedo. This is the update that was like, hey, so you don't like Geo characters, eh? Well, what if I told you you do? I'm like, it seems a little pushy, but okay, let me hear about it. So first of all, Enduring Rock. Now, I think this is something that people are getting a little weird, but this is the Enduring Rock is the proc that basically happens when you have 2 Geo characters on the field. So I don't know if this is an update to Geo characters as a whole, which it kind of is, but it's an update to Geo characters in a team of 2. So you need to have 2 Geo characters on the field in order to get access to the Geo Resonance, or whatever it's called, the Enduring Rock. By the way, its previous effect, this is important, increases resistance to interruption. This was really nice. Again, same thing as this, except this was kind of better because it was always active with every other character. Now Zhongli only seems to have the resistance to interruption specifically when he's casting a shield, which, yeah. Regardless, it also did some stuff like give you increased base attack damage buff by 15%. So, yeah. Also, it's only when you're shielded. So yes, this was the original effect, the increased interruption, as well as it increases your attack when you're shielded. Awesome. Attack, though. This is the update that's going to be coming in 1.3. This is the change to this Enduring Rock, which is just not really a Geo buff overall. It's just like a specific, if you have 2 Geo characters in your party, you get a buff. But regardless, increases the shield strength by 15. Awesome. Awesome. So you're rocking 2 Geo characters that give you shields constantly, you're going to be having even more survivability. Awesome. Additionally, characters protected by a shield will have following special characteristics. This is big. This is huge. This is fucking dense. Damage dealt increased by 15. This is increased to attack damage by 15. That is, whenever you're meleeing something, that's attack damage. Nice. Cool. It's 1 route of damage. Increases by 15% damage dealt. This is damage dealt by your ult. This is damage dealt by dominate, your E ability. This is damage dealt by your weapon. This is damage dealt across the board. This is a huge damage buff across the board, regardless of how you're built. This is a buff for your DPS. This is a buff for your ult spam characters. This is a buff for fucking everybody, which is mad huge. People I don't think are incented like talking about that as much. This is crazy. It's going towards so many things, and it's 15%, which can be pretty damned huge, even though it doesn't sound that crazy. Also, dealing damage to an enemy, just dealing damage, now it doesn't have to be an elemental damage, just dealing damage to an enemy will decrease their Geo resistance by 20 for 15 seconds, which is crazy. Especially if you're playing a character like Razor, who when you scratch shit also gets a debuff. So this synergizes weirdly with my playstyle, which is why I think I should go for Albedo, and I hate that. But also I think Albedo looks sick as fuck too. I'm just getting all the husbandos, and I would really appreciate it if one of the characters was a woman who also had a kit that I could like use in my team, because that's what I'm fighting with right now. Albedo, or not Albedo, what's the fucking name? Genyu looks fucking immaculate, but her kit seems like it's only really good at C6. I'm not spending a fucking grand on this game. Sorry, not me. Anyways, don't want to get too ahead of myself, but yeah, it just seems like it's going to be really good. Also, it just damage dealt. That's awesome. So you just hitting someone with a spear with Zhongli. So if you're playing Zhongli, for instance, hit someone with a spear once or twice, boom, and now activate your ult, and they're going to be getting hit that much harder. Amazing. Also, yeah, damage dealt could mean you activate your shield and hit a bunch of like a wide radius and then smash. It could also be any of the super big AoE characters that exist in the game as well. But anyways, this is the Geo as a whole buff, which is, it's not really that much of a buff. It's kind of the same thing that Zhongli has. But basically, Zhongli shield, all Geo shields, which can only be attained apparently by Zhongli, Noelle, as well as defeating the weird dino things. They sometimes drop Geo shields. they have, instead of having 250 resistance to Geo, instead they have 150 resistance to physical damage as well as elemental damage as a whole. So instead of having like a cryo shield, it's resistance to cryo, but it's not resistance to any other element. So every other element is going to chew you up, which in every type of endgame content, you're not just fighting one element, especially in Spire Abyss, you're fighting multiple, ice is dropping on your ass, wizards are whipping fire at you, it's a nightmare. But this way, elemental damage as a whole, you're resistant as Geo, which makes sense. Geo is the birth of the shield. It should be the thing that's resistant to all damage, and not just specific to one. Not only that, but they get the counter buff of physical damage being buffed, which is the idea of melee attacks and shit are just going to be nullified, which is so amazing. So that's the only kind of Geo thing at a whole, which is Geo shields will be the ideal shield as of your way of play, even though they're like less technically. Again, they are more because they are basically resistant to everything, which is why they have to be less. But regardless, that's just nuts. This whole thing is just lovely. I know some people are worried about power creep, the idea of like, okay, well now they're buffing Zhongli, he's gonna become really strong. I don't think. I think it's weird the way this game works out with like percentages and shit. It's gonna be passable. I think Zhongli could be a bruiser, a character that can deal decent damage, not damage like Razor, because Razor can't protect himself with the shit. So, and same thing with Diluc. So I don't think he'll attain that level of DPS, but I think you can use him functionally as a DPS if you build him enough, like Zhang Ling. Hopefully he can surpass Zhang Ling because he's a fucking 5-star and all that stuff. But also he doesn't have anywhere near the same weakness like Zhang Ling does have. So even if he is less strong than her, he still has the additive of being an unkillable Geo god. Which this, honestly, depending on what we're going to get, makes him feel a lot more like the legends say, which is a person that just can throw down like you would not believe. Can like take a punch and just punch you way harder back. So that's pretty sick. All the changes look wonderful. I cannot wait to experience a lot of them. Again, this is very much positioned as a thing to like, hey, maybe you're getting a little bored of the game. Hey, come back at 1.3 and experience the loveliness of Geo being good now, you know? But until then, ladies and gentlemen, try to build out that, I still think it would probably be best to have the 2-piece physical damage and 2-piece alt damage or elemental skill damage, and building that for HP, physical damage, and then maybe even HP again. But that has yet to be seen if that is the ideal, but that to me seems like a pretty decent bet, as well as recharging your substats if you can. Or just have a weapon that recharges his stuff. But this is an update that's going to be good for if you want to make him a DPS, it's going to seemingly be way more viable, and if you want to make him he's just going to become a better support. So I don't think anybody loses here besides maybe Mihoyo getting like threats, which I hope didn't happen too much, but the Asian servers went a little nuts. But anyway, also, thank you Asian servers for this. He just gave me one of the only 5 stars I have. I know whales out there are like, he's fine. I was kind of like, well, I hope I can make him work, because he's the only 5-star besides Venti that I have, which Venti's a pretty hard carry. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Again, I'm always late to these, but I just wanted to yell at you with my thoughts. Again, does this make you want to get Zhongli if you were debating about not getting him? Does this make you want to get Albedo? I am just going to play the shit out of him in the test arena and feel him out. But yes, if Albedo feels good to play, I think I gotta go for Albedo instead of Genyu, which breaks my heart because Genyu just looks so sick. And again, I just feel like Genyu is gonna be strong, but I'm not sure if the DPS value is gonna outweigh you having to aim down sights for like 2 seconds rather than me just switch to a Razor and smash for like a fuck ton of time, you know? So I don't know if the damage is gonna be that good. Maybe with elemental resonance and melting and stuff like that could be good. We'll have to see. But also I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind that Genyu becomes godly at max constellation, because unlike other characters, a lot of people are saying that she's whale bait, which I would agree with. She seems fucking nuts if her leaked constellation is to be believed. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. Let me know what you guys think, again, about Zhongli, and if you are maybe considering getting Albedo. Again, we probably are all in the same boat of wanting to see what the hell Albedo can actually do if he is the hopeful battery that can charge everyone's abilities, which makes him so valuable for everybody, especially if you happen to have some Geo characters, I don't know, like a Zhongli. So, yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button over there, as well as 2 videos further that way. Thank you once again for your time, and of course, goodbye.